Chico. Chico, say hello to the people in Brazil. Say hello to Shui, teacher Shu. Okay. Now, Chico, I'm sure you all know what that means. It just saves me calling him boy twice. Okay. Now, believe it or not, I may look like I'm in the wilderness of the Australian bush, but I'm 2 kilometers from my house, which is 4 kilometers from the central business district of Adelaide, where I live. And I know it looks like it's on the other side of the black stump, but it's not. Now this, my friends, it's been fenced off to make it stupid proof, which we do everywhere in the world, is a billabong. I'm sure you've heard of that. It used to be in our national anthem about a sheep thief that ran away and lived by a billabong with his sheep. Well, he was on the other side of the black stump. That just means so far away no one can ever find you and no one's ever heard of the place. This billabong, you can see there's some bird life in here, but at the moment, here we go. Let me just swing that around. I may have to edit this. They're what we call flat out, like a lizard drinking, which means they're pretty lazy and they're not really doing that much. There they are there, some birds. And then it's spring, so they've all got fledglings following around. You can hear some Australian magnificent sulphur-crested parrots up there. A parrot, or a cocky we call them. A cocky in Australia is what's called a lookout for an illegal gambling game. In the old days of the back streets of 1 up, 2 up and 3 up gaming, a cocky was the kid that got paid a shilling to look out for the clobbers, which was the police. These are all Australian idioms as far as I know. Now, I'm pretty dry, I'm pretty thirsty, I'm about as dry as a dingo's donga. I'll explain all these things probably later, I'll just let the idiom run. And as you can see, there's a hell of a lot of gum trees, because that's pretty much all that we have here, because it's such a dry, desolate country. Our leaves are annual, they don't drop. Green all year, deciduous. I think that's the right word. Or is that the one that drops? Out in the middle of the billabong, there's a little island. But once upon a time, as you can see from the cliff ledge across there, this was part of the flowing river. Up until about 50 years ago, the water would get up to the top of that cliff ledge. But I remember as a child, because I grew up along this river, it was a river up to that cliff ledge and maybe a mile that way. Now there's a big island in the middle, and it's left this billabong because they built a huge concrete dam up in the mountains. Now it's always a trickle, same all year round, but it used to be a raging river in winter and a trickle of dry ponds in summer, a seasonal river. It's lost its character. So now they call this a billabong, because it is, but it's not really a natural one. It's just left over for when they shut the river. And what used to go around this huge landmass here, the other river, the actual river, is right on the other side of that green mass you can see. Huge. Once upon a time it must have been at least a mile across here. So it's a very old river. And it's where the indigenous people lived, because it's where the water and the animals and the hunting and all the good gear was. And when the white people arrived, they were kind enough to show, silly people I guess, but they were kind enough to show and trusting enough to show the settlers where the best camping place was. And before they knew it, that's where our capital city was, and the poor Aboriginals were extinct. So yeah, we don't talk about that much, or at least we haven't done. I wasn't taught about it in my school history. I had to find that out for myself by reading investigative journalists and finding the story of Australia. Because it's true, there is a criminal past, but not the way they like you to think, because the world thinks it's made of criminals sent from England. That was just one settlement, maybe 2. Adelaide's a free city, Perth, Darwin, they're all free cities, settled by free settlers, or at least rich free settlers with servants. But the Aboriginals were pretty much extinct, and it's the secret Australia, which white people don't like to think about because it gives them a bad conscience. was a genocide. The diseases had come up the main river, not this one, but there's a much bigger river to the east of here, had already travelled up by bark canoe with other Aboriginal traders from the east, and the diseases had come with them and knocked them over like bowling pins, like dominoes. And I'm sure that's not an idiom in Australia alone. I'm cutting off, we might have to edit this. I'm back to the vehicles, and here's Chico, he's leading the way. Look, Chico, show all the people in Brazil your happy face instead of just your other eye. There it is, come on now. Okay, we're going to cut now. Let's see, I hope I can edit this. I probably can. If not, I'm sure you will. I'll think of some decent idioms. Now, I just remembered a good one, which was, I've got to get up the frog and toad to the rubbity dub for a couple of Germain Greers. I'll translate, that's